Visit leaffilter.com.
This or that, this or that. You can do this, you can do that. You can do this, you can do that. You can do this, cause that's where it's at.
Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Get started today at Angie.com.
So musty in here.
Everybody dance with. Everybody dance with.
Damp Rid attracts and traps excess moisture, eliminating the source of musty odors.
Everybody dance with.
I was told my small business wouldn't qualify for an ERC tax refund.
You should get a second opinion from Innovation Refunds at no upfront costs. Sometimes you need a second opinion. Good to go. Yeah, I think I'll get a second opinion. All these walls gotta go. I'd love a second opinion.
No.
I'm gonna get a second opinion. With Innovation Refunds, there's no upfront cost to find out, so why not check like I did for my small business? Take the first step to see if your small business qualifies for the ERC.
Okay, gang, phones down. Item 1, we have too many streaming subscriptions, and they're starting to cost us a pretty penny, so we all know what has to happen. Grandma has to go.
Wait, Nana's out?
Yes, she is. Now, Diane, for the most part, I have never had a problem with you.
Or we could just get Max. It has more of the shows and movies we all like to watch.
Or that.
Mom.
Oh, and there she goes.
Stream iconic series, movies, originals, and family favorites. Max. Plans start at $9.99 a month.
There is a lot that goes into becoming a licensed therapist. 2 years of graduate school followed by 2 years of clinical training. You literally have to do 3,000 hours plus of interactions with clients. It was quite a journey.
We're taking the family to Cancun.
I want to Iceland.
How are we getting there?
With Going.
Going drops cheap flight deals in my inbox to anywhere. Anytime. Like now.
Where are you going? Sign up for free at going.com.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, she doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy. Even a term policy? Even a term!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-461-8800 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
I'm David Culver in Los Angeles, and this is CNN.
Now to New Jersey and new reporting about what it's like inside Donald Trump's orbit right now as he and our attention remains on the federal grand jury here in Washington. CNN's Kristen Holmes is closely tracking the former president's inner circle. The Trump campaign, they're meeting there all day. Are they still kind of in that holding pattern, just waiting to see if an indictment comes down, or are they making the assumption for political reasons that it's going to happen?
Well, Dana, they believe it's happening. And right now, the timing is unclear. They are in the same boat as the rest of us when it comes to these indictments. They are reading tea leaves. They are trying to get some kind of indication from different remarks, from different reports. But they still don't know when exactly that's going to happen. When I talk to his campaign advisors, they really stress that they are trying to focus on the political aspect of all of this. The meetings that they're having are budget meetings. They are talking about scheduling, where they're going to go next. And when I spent the weekend talking to different advisors on the phone, they were much more interested in talking about the negative DeSantis coverage. They were amped up rather than talking about any of this legal stuff. And when it comes to that, they say they have a playbook down. This has already happened twice. There have been 2 indictments. They expect likely 2 more indictments, including the one that we're discussing now, in January 6th, the federal indictment in the Jack Smith special counsel probe. So they are just working from that, the fundraising, the political instigating with his base, trying to rile them up. But again, they still are running a 3rd presidential campaign. And tonight, in fact, at Bedminster, he's hosting several Ohio lawmakers for dinner, including Senator J.D. Vance, as well as Congressman Max Miller and Jim Jordan, as you know, some of his biggest supporters.
So that's happening tonight, Kristen. Is there any plan for him to go back on the trail when it comes to the early states, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina? He obviously has leads, particularly in Iowa and South Carolina, that we've just seen that he wants to hold on to.
That's It's true, and he's going to this big Iowa dinner on Friday. He'll be one of the big speakers there, along with many of the other 24 candidates. And on Saturday, he has a big rally in Erie, Pennsylvania. So two things to keep an eye on. But I do want to point out one thing. Tomorrow, he is going to Louisiana for a fundraiser. So something to watch out closely. That's where he'll be.
Okay, Kristen, thank you so much for that reporting. Thank you for joining Inside Politics. CNN News Central starts right now.
History now in ruins. Russian strikes damage a landmark cathedral in Odessa as Ukraine struggles to fend off repeated Russian attacks. Plus, fresh Ukrainian attacks on Russian soil. Ukraine claiming responsibility for drone strikes that hit Moscow overnight. We are following the latest. And Texas defies the Justice Department. Governor Greg Abbott is now refusing to comply with the DOJ's request to remove floating razor wire border barriers on the Rio Grande, where that legal battle goes from here. Plus, Pyongyang taking the call nearly a week after a U.S. soldier willingly runs across the DMZ. The UN command says they're now in talks with North Korea to bring him home. We're following these major developing stories and many more, all coming in right here to CNN News Central. Retaliation inside Russia. Ukraine taking credit for overnight drone attacks on Moscow and Crimea, of course, Russian-held territory in Ukraine. The Kremlin says that Russian defenses shot down at least 2 drones that hit a pair of buildings in central Moscow. This as Ukraine is blaming Russia for taking out another grain silo at one of its ports, causing another sudden jolt in global wheat prices. In Odessa, even centuries-old cultural sites are not off limits as Russian airstrikes hit an historic cathedral over the weekend. Look at that damage there. CNN's Alex Marquardt saw the destruction firsthand.
The Transfiguration Cathedral, church officials have asked us to put these helmets on because of all the work that's going on, all the debris that is falling from the roof. I want to show you this corner of the church. This is where there is the most destruction. This is where we are told that the missile or rocket came plunging through the roof, going down at least 2 stories. It is attacks like these on civilian infrastructure, on buildings that frankly have nothing to do with this conflict, that now has President Zelensky calling for more air defense support from Western allies, for what he calls a full-fledged air shield for Ukraine.
CNN's Nick Robin is following the latest. Nick, speaking of the Ukrainian attacks inside Russian territory, not the first that they've claimed responsibility for, this to a building in Moscow. Do we know specifically what this strike was targeting there?
We don't know what it was targeting, but it appears to have hit a Ministry of Defense building belonging to the GRU, Russia's military intelligence headquarters, and potentially this building was connected with some of Russia's cyber offensive activity. That's at least the way that the Ukrainians seem to indicate it, and this is from the location that's been hit and evidence that's been in the public domain about what this location is linked with. It does seem to be getting at Russia's military intelligence assets. For the Ukrainians, this would be a potentially obvious target. In Crimea, the strike there appears to potentially hit an ammo dump, although again, like Moscow, the Russians are saying actually they were able to take down, disable electronically or with intercept with other missiles to take down these attacking drones. But there was a large area around an area close to the Crimean border with the rest of Ukraine that the Russians have had to evacuate, which tends to indicate the potential for overspill from the strike, and therefore the likelihood, possibility that this was another ammo dump that was hit.
Russia is promising to retaliate. Of course, hard to imagine what that means, given that they launched a war on Ukraine a year and a half ago. But in response to attacks on Russian territory by Ukraine in the past, what does that tell us about what Russia might do here?
it might decide to launch bigger and longer-lasting salvos. I think it's significant at the moment that we're seeing both Ukraine and Russia reach longer and deeper with drones. Russia, over the weekend, or just before the weekend, pulled out of the Black Sea grain deal and has subsequently been targeting the grain silos that have been a way for Ukraine to export grain to the world. As you said, the price is being driven up by the strike on the Danube River today, which is different to Odessa port. The Danube River has really been Ukraine's backup route for getting grain out of the country down that river network to European allies. Now that has been targeted, and the potential stakes there are absolutely massive. The Danube River is a couple of hundred yards wide. So the place that was struck today, literally a couple of hundred yards from Romania. So no surprise, Secretary of State Antony Blinken called his Romanian counterpart, talk about security, talk about solidarity. This is about as close as Russia has come so far to actually hitting inside NATO territory.
And that's been a deep concern since the start of this war about the possibility of escalation, horizontal escalation as they call it. Nick Robertson in London, thanks so much for us.
Let's get some expert analysis now from retired Brigadier General Steve Anderson. General, thanks so much for being with us. Let's start with the map of the region, because this is essentially a tit for tat with drone strikes, some in Moscow, some here near the border of Crimea.
Yes, the hits just keep on coming, Boris, for Vladimir Putin. I mean, to be able to hit all the way up here into Moscow, hundreds of miles into Russian territory, I mean, what message does that send about the air defense systems of Moscow? I mean, that attack struck within 2 miles of the Kremlin, right in the middle of their Ministry of Defense. So it's a huge, huge blow, I think, to Vladimir Putin strategically. Now, operationally, the hit down here at this ammo dump, that is huge, because it's right. Remember, they hit the Kerch Bridge here last week, and this is right on the same logistics line into the southern part of the Donbass, and that's incredibly important. So what that's showing is that the Ukrainians now have a deep strike capability. They're not doing very well in the counteroffensive, but if they can continue to set conditions by taking out logistics hubs like this ammo dump and command and control headquarters, that's a huge win for the Ukrainians.
Yeah, it does strike me that in the attack on Moscow, Ukraine actually took credit for it, which is something that they had not done previously. What does that signify to you?
Well, I think that shows that the counteroffensive isn't going very well, and they're trying to get some good news to the Ukrainian people. That's really what it means. So now they're taking credit for this and for the ammo dump, and they, hopefully they will continue to turn things around. But right now the counteroffensive is just not going like they want, and they need some good news for the Ukrainian people to keep them focused on the fight.
Yeah, on the other side, the damage in Odessa, specifically to this grain store, Russia's destroyed some 60,000 tons of grain since they got out of the Black Sea grain deal. What do you make of this tactic, using food as a weapon, essentially?
Well, there's really only 3 levers that Vladimir Putin can pull. He can pull the nuclear lever, and of course we don't want him to do that. And oil is something he has that influences the international community. And the third is food. And what he's trying to do is just make it painful as possible. He's trying to take out Odessa. Odessa's a seaport, vital to moving that grain all the way down to Istanbul. As we just had reported, 2 other ports were hit very close to Romania. Those ports have to do with access to the Danube, which is the backup. It's very, very difficult to move grain, cheaply. You don't want to do it in a truck or train. You want to do it in a ship or a barge. And if Vladimir Putin knows it, he can make it very, very painful for the Ukrainians to move their grain if he can take out all that port infrastructure.
In response to this attack and others, President Zelensky has essentially argued that the West should further empower Ukraine and bolster its air defenses. We have a list of weapons here, beginning with this chopper. Walk us through what you think Ukraine needs in order to do that.
Well, they need a lot of help. Right now, there's 2 Patriot systems up in Kyiv that are working very, very well. But unfortunately, they just don't have enough air defense artillery. Now, they just approved the Biden administration 4 of these systems, but that's going to take 6 to 9 months. What I'm saying right here is Patriots. We have 1,100 of these launcher systems that we could send over at least 150 or 200 systems. I think they're totally overwhelmed to just do what President Zelensky wants to do. He makes complete air coverage of the entire country. The other thing I would tell you is these CRAMs. The Patriots are good at taking out missiles. But the CRAM is good at hitting anything bigger than a soccer ball. I used these systems when I was in Afghanistan. They're unbelievable. They'll hit anything, and that's what you need against these Iranian drones or the smaller ones. You've got to have the CRAM capability. So I say we got 53 systems in the United States Army right now. Let's send as many as we can over there to help them out because they're not being used right now. They came out of Afghanistan and Iraq. As far as I'm concerned, we need to put them to work in Ukraine.
We'll see what the White House does. General Steve Anderson, always great to get your perspective on these matters. Thank you, Boris.
Jim? Yeah, really slow going there for Ukrainian forces. Well, here in the U.S., a major border fight gearing up to be a battle now in federal court. Texas Governor Greg Abbott just sent a defiant letter to President Biden over the state's beefed-up border measures, vowing, quote, Texas will see you in court. The Justice Department had given state officials until 2 p.m. Eastern today to commit to removing this 1,000-foot floating razor wire barrier in the Rio Grande. The DOJ claims it violates federal law, raises humanitarian concerns, presents serious risks to public safety and the environment. CNN's Rosa Flores is in Eagle Pass, Texas. Priscilla Alvarez at the White House. Rosa, first begin with you. You're standing on the border there, very close to that floating barrier. Can you tell us why the DOJ is so concerned about this particular border measure?
Let me show you, because this is what Texas defiance looks like on the Rio Grande. You can take a look. The buoys are still there. There is construction equipment out here, but don't be fooled. This equipment is not here to remove this border barrier. They must be doing some sort of maintenance on the buoys. But this is what the Rio Grande looks like right now as the U.S. DOJ has asked the state of Texas to remove this border barrier. These buoys are 4 feet in diameter, and they are anchored to the bottom of the waterway. Now, this is a very popular crossing because the water levels are so low. In fact, if you look closely, you'll even see the anchors that are supposed to be anchoring this set of buoys. You see both the buoys and the anchors because the water is so low. Now, this has turned into an international incident, of course, because the Rio Grande is the international boundary between Mexico and the United States. And Mexico's top diplomat complained to the United States, to Washington, about these buoys because the state of Texas, according to the State Department, didn't consult with the federal government before deploying the buoys. They didn't obtain permits before deploying the buoys. And Jim, Mexico is concerned that these buoys could be on Mexican territory. So this is what defiance looks like on the Rio Grande. U.S. DOJ threatening to sue, Texas digging in its boot heels and leaving the buoys on the river. Jim?
And notable, it's an international incident, not just a state, federal government incident. So, Priscilla, the DOJ, what's been its response to this, and what's the plan going forward?
Well, the response will likely come in a lawsuit. That was the threat that the Justice Department had made to the Texas governor late last week when it said that if they did not remove those floating barriers, then they would take them to court. So we're waiting to see when the Justice Department files that lawsuit. But the big picture here is that this is an escalation in a feud between President Biden and Texas Governor Greg Abbott on a very delicate political issue, that being the handling of the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, Abbott has been a fierce critic of Biden on this front, and he launched his own border operation in 2021. And over the course of the last few years, I've been talking to sources about how the administration was viewing this, and there was growing concern about the actions that Texas was taking on the Texas-Mexico border because of the risks it poses to migrants, but also to their own federal agents. So in a statement from the White House, the spokesperson said that Governor Abbott's dangerous and unlawful actions are undermining our effective border enforcement plan and making it hard for CBP to do their jobs of securing the border. The governor's actions are cruel and putting both migrants and border agents in danger. But the bottom line here, Jim, is that more than 2 years after Abbott launched that border operation, the Biden administration is acting, and we expect to see a lawsuit from the Justice Department very soon against these floating barriers.
Well, what's notable there is differing interpretations of presidential powers at the border depending on the party of the president in power. Priscilla Alvarez at the White House. Rosa Flores at the border. Thanks so much. Flores.
After days of silence, we're learning North Korea and the United States are now talking about the Army private who ran across the DMZ. We'll take you live for an update from the Pentagon next. And the investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders literally deepening. Officials digging up the suspect's backyard. There's the latest on that just ahead. And bye-bye birdie. Elon Musk replacing the iconic Twitter blue bird with an X. You're watching CNN News Central. We're back in just moments.
Introducing the all-new 2024 Chevy Trax. Helps you stay connected, safe, and charged. The all-new Chevy Trax, starting at $21,495. The possibilities are endless.
At Morgan Stanley, old school hard work meets bold new thinking. To help you see untapped possibilities and relentlessly work with you to make them real.
Life, diabetes. Each day is a unique blend of going, doing, and living. Glucerna Protein Smart with 30 grams of protein to help keep you moving. Uniquely designed with Carb Steady to help manage blood sugar response. Glucerna, bring on the day.
We know what's in your head, Donald. Now that Chris Christie has qualified, should you show up to the debate? Because if you do, your opponents will bring up the impeachments, the indictments, bring up how you lost to Joe Biden, lost the House, lost the Senate. They will remind everyone you didn't build that big, beautiful wall and not one peso from Mexico. That instead of balancing the budget, you increased it by $6 trillion. That you never repealed Obamacare. Because that's what they'll say if you show up. Especially that guy Christie. But if you don't go, you'll be called a coward, a chicken, reduced to throwing spitballs from the sidelines. So, Donald, you need to decide. Are you a chicken or just a loser? Tell It Like It Is PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Want to pay only $40 per month with Sling TV to watch CNN, HGTV, MSNBC, and your other favorite channels? You can stream it all on Sling, all for just $40 per month. Try Sling today at sling.com/watchnow.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient. But with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most.
With the Generac, it powers our well, the refrigerator, and my CPAP machine, which are all things that we need to survive on a day-to-day basis.
Get the security and peace of mind your family deserves with a home standby generator from Generac. 8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
It's a peace of mind to get the Generac generator. That was the best investment that we could have ever made.
Prices start at just $19.99, and owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing is available with low monthly payment options. Act now, and you will also receive a free 7-year warranty valued at $735. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
The America's Best Celebrity Sale is happening now, and it's making quite the spectacle. For a limited time, get 2 pairs of Brevet Revolt frames from Jamie Foxx for only $89.95. Book your exam today.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. With Purple's new mattresses, fall asleep 20% faster, have less aches and pains, and sleep uninterrupted. Visit Purple.com or a store near you.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein, 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar. Enter the $10,000 Powered by Protein Max Challenge.
Happening right now, digging for clues. Literally. A search there with a backhoe on the home of Rex Harriman, the primary suspect in Long Island's Gilgo Beach killing. CNN affiliate News 12 Long Island reports investigators are using search dogs, excavating tools, including that backhoe, ground penetrating radar, to find any information in his backyard. They've already searched the basement, plan to scour the attic and garage next. This investigation, not just in New York, though, spans across 3 other states. The sheriff described Harriman as being stoic during police interviews. CNN's Jean Casares joins us now. She's been following this. Jean, a detailed operation. Our John Miller says they're drowning in clues. Do we have a sense of what they're looking for in and around his property?
I think anything that can aid in this prosecution and the furtherance of that task force endeavor here. There was just an impromptu press conference outside, and the commissioner with law enforcement said that this is a total investigation of the property, of the house, that they have collected numerous items at this point inside the house. Remember, that's potential evidence. It's got to go through testing now. But front and center today is outside that home. You're looking at pictures right there of the backyard. And if you can see, there is a hole that they have dug right there. And it was confirmed that they have a ground-penetrating radar at the back of that house right now, as well as the backhoe. I want you to listen to the reasons why they're doing this from Commissioner Rodney Harrison, the Suffolk County Police.
It is a different type of technology, but it will help us be able to identify anything in that backyard that we need to take into our possession.
Now, of course, the ground-penetrating radar is to see if there is anything forensically relevant that they can find down inside the earth. And remember, this spans so many years. They are looking at every nook and cranny. Now, we have learned through a law enforcement source that they have finished inside the house the search, but they have to do the attic and they have to do the garage. And the commissioner said on the record of that press conference that they believe a couple more days, maybe it could extend more of this week, but they don't want to leave anything undone because they know how important this is.
Now, of course, his home there on Long Island, bodies found on a beach on Long Island. Tell us what's happening in South Carolina. He owned property there. Is there a specific reason why they're looking there, or is this abundance of caution?
No, there appears to be one specific reason. First of all, it's Chester County, 4 large parcels of land. Now, in the presser, he just said that they went out there to find this green Chevrolet Avalanche, which a witness had actually described early on. They didn't piece it together. They weren't able to until a couple of years ago. But that was on the property of either Rex Heuermann or his brother that lives right there also on one of the parcels. But now we've learned that there was a young woman that went missing several years ago, about 20 miles away from this property. They are looking at that disappearance with due diligence to see if there are any interactions at all. Obviously, in Las Vegas, he owned or owns at least one townhouse. He and his wife had 2 at one point, and they are looking at any unsolved cold cases and narrowing the focus in also because these young women, they did engage in sex work, and so they are looking at those unsolved homicides because many times they are forgotten and they're not looked into, and they want justice for these young women wherever they may be. And he has pleaded not guilty.
Well, the possibility, it seems, from police perspective, that there were other crimes. We'll continue to watch for details. Jean Casares following from New York. Thanks so much. Boris.
The deputy commander of the United Nations says that conversations have started between the United States and North Korea over the fate of U.S. Army Private Travis King. He's the soldier who crossed into the DMZ last week and has not been heard from since. King is considered AWOL, and he's believed to be the first U.S. soldier to cross into North Korea since 1982.
The first is the primary concern for us is Private King's welfare, and a conversation has commenced with the KPA through the mechanisms of the armistice agreement. And I won't and I can't say anything that could prejudice that process.
CNN's Natasha Bertrand is at the Pentagon for us following the latest details. So, Natasha, what do we know about these talks? Do we have any updates on the health of the Army private?
Yeah, Boris, so we're told that this was really less of a conversation between UN command and North Korean officials and more of an acknowledgement of receipt of the U.S.'s and the UN's outreach to the North Koreans more than anything else. So it was not very much a substantive conversation. It was actually more of essentially just making sure that that hotline that exists between the UN command and the North Koreans still functions. Of course, the U.S. and the UN command have been reaching out repeatedly to the North Koreans to try to get a sense of Travis King's whereabouts, his condition, whether or not he is alive or dead. But we are told that the conversation really was not that extensive, and it was more just an acknowledgement by the North Koreans that they acknowledge the U.S. and the UN command's outreach there. Now, we still don't know just how Travis King is doing. Of course, he did bolt into North Korea last week after being about to be transported back to the United States to face disciplinary action by the U.S. military over assault charges that he had faced in South Korea. He then sprinted across the demarcation line into North Korea. It is still unclear why exactly he did that, although the Army Secretary has speculated publicly that it might have been because of those ramifications he was facing back in the United States. But look, the U.S. has not had any contact with the North Koreans since the Biden administration came into office. They have repeatedly reached out to the North Koreans trying to get some kind of engagement from them. So the fact that they did acknowledge the receipt from the UN command of questions about Travis King's whereabouts, his health, his safety, that is an encouraging and positive sign, according to U.S. officials. But still, no substantive conversations have really begun, we are told, about the status of Travis King. Boris?
A significant first step, perhaps one, hopefully, of more to come. Natasha Bertrand, thanks so much for the reporting. Jim?
All right, so how serious is the heat wave in right now? It's so hot in Arizona that people are going to the hospital with burns from the ground. We're going to have details on that. And Alabama has defied a Supreme Court order for a new congressional map there, sets the stage for yet another major showdown. Stay with us.
At PNC Bank, you can find us in big cities and small towns across the U.S., where our focus is to always support the people who live and work there, because you call these communities home, and we do too. PNC Bank.
Every day, more dog people are deciding it's time for a fresh approach to pet food. Developed with vets, made from real meat and veggies, portioned for your dog, and delivered right to your door. It's smarter, healthier pet food.
Beaches, Rhythm and Blues, Caribbean Seal. Now on. Visit beaches.com.
You founded your kayak company because you love the ocean, not spreadsheets. You need to hire. I need Indeed. Indeed you do. Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description. Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Why did we choose Safelight? We were loading our SUV when crack. Safelight came right to us, and we could see exactly when they'd arrive with a replacement we could trust. That's service the way we want it.
Safelight Repair, Safelight Replace.
My name is Joshua Florence, and one thing I learned being a firefighter is plan ahead. You don't know what you're getting into, but at the end of the day, you know you have a team behind you that can help you. Not having to worry about the future makes it possible to make the present as best as it can be for everybody.
ADT Safety Days event featuring Google Nest products. Get ADT self-setup with no long-term contracts and free shipping. Or let our security experts install your system for convenience and peace of mind. Call or shop online today to save up to 30%.
Age is just a number, and mine's unlisted.
Try Boost High Protein with 20 grams of protein for muscle health versus 16 grams in Ensure High Protein. Boost High Protein, now available in Cinnabon Bakery-inspired flavor. Learn more at boost.com/TV.
It's time to hit refresh, to be buttoned up, to feel your best and look it by using Just for Men shampoo and hair color to eliminate gray in 5 easy minutes. It's time to look forward. Just for Men shampoo and color.
Hey, get away! 10 years ago, we invented the Ring Video Doorbell for moments like these.
You found your wallet.
And Ring security cameras for moments like these. Where are you? With Ring, you're always home. Learn more at ring.com.
Subway is now slicing their deli meats fresh. That's why the new Titan Turkey is preferred by this football pro.
And preferred by this football pro who actually uses her feet.
And if we prefer it, we know you'll prefer it too. I use my feet. Have you seen me scramble?
How did this relationship between the two of you go to the point where it is now?
Do you believe this counteroffensive is Ukraine's best shot at winning this war?
You're saying the story is wrong?
Oh, I'm not confirming it.
The Source with Caitlin Collins, tonight at 9.
Did you know that the odor reactions that take place in our underarms are identical to the odor reactions that happen everywhere on your body? And a daily shower with soap isn't controlling body odor as well as you think it is. That's why I created Lumi Whole Body Deodorant, clinically proven to control odor on pits, feet, privates, and beyond by stopping odor before it even starts with our acidified technology. So head over to our website, LumiStarterPack.com, and discover how you can get 2 free items plus free shipping on your first order.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit LegacyBox.com.
Ooh, babe, Puerto Rico round trip for 124 ongoing.
We could do so many exciting activities.
Should be a girls' trip.
Where are you going? Sign up for free at going.com.
The Whole Story with Anderson Cooper, Sunday at 8 on CNN. Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We've offered a free book about mesothelioma for over 10 years. Call 1-800-872-4901 or go to Mesobook.com.
That unrelenting heat wave that has scorched the Southwest for weeks is now moving east with more than 35 million Americans on alert. And listen to this. In parts of Arizona, the heat is so brutal, doctors say emergency rooms are filling up with people who were burned after falling on pavement. Some of those injuries apparently life-threatening. On a hot day, asphalt can easily be 40 to 60 degrees hotter than the air. That's according to some studies, that it retains heat even after the sun is no longer shining on it. Doctors in Arizona say the temperature of asphalt or pavement can reach up to 180 degrees. That is just below boiling. CNN health reporter Jacqueline Howard joins us now. So Jacqueline, what are these injuries that doctors are seeing?
Well, Boris, we spoke with one doctor at a hospital in Arizona who said a third of patients at that hospital's burn center have burn injuries like you described from actually falling on the pavement. Now, outside of these burn injuries, what else doctors are seeing is a rise in heat-related illnesses. I'm talking about heat stroke, heat exhaustion, heat cramps. And one example of heat stroke is when patients have a body temperature at or above 103 degrees Fahrenheit. When that happens, doctors have to work quickly to get their body temperature down. Other symptoms include feeling headache, dizziness, or nausea. So those are symptoms to look out for people who are spending a lot of time in the heat. If you have symptoms like that, check your body temperature. If you're feeling ill, definitely try to get some medical attention for us.
Definitely, because it can be life-threatening, this extreme heat, right?
Absolutely. And we're actually seeing a rise in heat-related deaths. Globally, the number of heat-related deaths has increased for us by 74%. That was between 1980 and 2016. So some tips to kind of keep in mind to stay cool. Of course, it's obvious to stay hydrated, but one rule of thumb is to have a cup of water every 15 to 20 minutes if you're spending a lot of time outdoors. Try to use air conditioning indoors if you aren't able to. Try to fill a spray bottle with cool water and have a fan running and spray yourself. That's one way to stay cool. And of course, check on older adults and young children. They're most vulnerable to the heat.
Jacqueline Howard, thanks so much for the advice. Let's chat now with CNN meteorologist Chad Myers, who's in the Weather Center for us, because Chad, this extreme heat is now on the move.
It is. And I'm just looking at the brand new American model that came out, and for Thursday and Friday, Des Moines could be 114 without the heat index. Big city like Kansas City could be 112. So the heat that was out to the west will still be there, but a big chunk of it will move off to the east. And I've heard of people, I have friends in Scottsdale and I have friends in Vegas, they're getting burnt by the water that's in their hose because it sits there all day. They turn it on and the water can be 130, 40 degrees out there because that hose has been sitting in the sun. Make sure you take care of the pets too, because if If you think your feet are hot, their paws are also hot. Make sure they walk or go for the walk in the grass, please, not on black asphalt. They're not there to tell you that it's really, really hot. Something else you can do for the pets, you can throw a couple ice cubes in their water bowl. That kind of helps them out as well. And don't just put them out there in a shed or a dog house with no ventilation. It's better to even have them under a tree if they can't be inside. So there's your excessive heat warnings for today. They are about to move to the east for sure. Phoenix, though, a couple more days. Look at that tomorrow. You get to 118. It's the heat dome we've been talking about, Boris, and it is sliding to the east, and it will eventually get to New York City. It's just not going to be maybe as massive as it was out west. And 150 heat records possible. And no record lows possible anywhere. Minneapolis, 99 degrees. That's hot for you. That's hot for Des Moines. That's hot for everywhere. But I grew up in Omaha for a lot of my life, and I can't remember a time where Omaha got to 110. But that's the forecast. And even for New York City, 95 will be your afternoon high as we come up toward the weekend. So yes, it is on the move. Time to be very, very careful. Nothing to really take lightly. You can get burned touching a black car. I mean, it can be that hot. So be careful out there when it gets this hot and you don't recognize it. You haven't been that hot. Places like Chicago have been in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Now all of a sudden, if you get away from the lake, it's going to be really, really brutal.
Very important to pay attention to the heat, not just where you are, but broadly the trend lines. It's impossible to ignore where this is headed. Chad Myers from the Weather Center, thank you so much. Jim?
Yeah, heat dome moving east. Well, the state of Alabama is now defying the U.S. Supreme Court. Governor Kay Ivey approved a new congressional map with just one majority black deep district. That's despite a Supreme Court order to redraw the lines to create two majority black districts or something close to that. CNN's Diane Gallagher. She's been following the story. Diane, first, the obvious question is, how does one defy the Supreme Court here? Does that stand? And if not, what happens next?
So, Boris, Republicans in Alabama say they're not defying the Supreme Court order, said that they just have a different interpretation of that at this point. And look, it is going to end up back in the court. This new map drawn by Alabama state Republicans now switches back to that same three-court judge panel that struck down the 2021 map, saying that it likely violated the Voting Rights Act. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld that ruling, and essentially what those judges found was that they diluted black voting power. In a state that is more than a quarter black, only 1 out of the 7 congressional districts are majority minority. They were ordered to redraw it. Now, Democrats have focused a lot on some very specific language in that order from those judges, 2 of whom I might add were Trump-appointed judges. In that ruling, they said that any remedial plan will need to include 2 districts in which black voters either compromise a voting age majority or something quite close to it. Now, Democrats argue the map that was approved on Friday does not do that. What it does is it does maintain a majority, though it reduces the black voting population in District 7 that is currently represented by Alabama's only Democrat, Representative Terry Sewell. It reduces the black population there, but it's still a majority. The other main change is to District 2. And what they've done there is increase the black voting age population from about 30% to just under 40%. Democrats and voting rights advocates say that 40% is not something quite close to a majority. They maintain that there is no opportunity for black voters to elect a candidate of their choice, as the Supreme Court says they should be able to do, if this is the map. Republicans, however, say that they have focused on giving black voters the opportunity to vote for the candidate and elect a candidate of their choice and believe that this number is sufficient. They said that they adhered to voting and redistricting principles, those traditional redistricting principles focusing on compactness, contiguity, and communities of interest, not wanting to break up certain communities. It is up to the court. The initial plaintiffs in the Supreme Court case have until the end of this week to submit their opposition, their complaints about this. They are going to do that for us. Then the state can respond. We right now have a tentative August 14th date for the beginning of the hearing on this map.
Yeah. Jim Sciutto here, actually. But 1 or 2 out of 7, of course, far below the quarter population that which shows you the nature of gerrymandering. In so many states. Diane Gallagher, good to have you in the story. Thanks so much. Boris.
Still to come.
Of course, far below the quarter population, and we shows you the nature of gerrymandering. So many states, Diane Gallagher, they tap into the story. Thanks so much. Boris.
Still to come on...
Shows you the nature of gerrymandering. So many states, Diane Gallagher, they tap into the story. Thanks so much. Boris.
Still to come on CNN News Central, protests erupting on the streets of Israel after the country...
Of course, far below the quarter population, which shows you the nature of gerrymandering. And some
and create a space that really makes a splash. Right now, save $30 on the FS56 RCE gas-powered trimmer. Real steel. Find yours.
Meet 3 students, all learning to save and spend their money with Chase. Freedom for kids? Thank you, Chef. Control for parents? Nice. One bank for both. Chase, make more of what's yours.
This is your summer to smile, to raise your glass and reconnect, to reel in the fun and serve up great times. To help you get ready, your Aspen Dental team is celebrating 25 years of affordable care with an epic Summer of Smiles event. Right now, new patients without insurance get a free full exam and x-rays. Plus, everyone can get 20% off their treatment plan. But hurry, because while these summer savings won't last, the memories you make together will. Aspen Dental. Book today.
I was told my small business wouldn't qualify for an ERC tax refund.
You should get a second opinion from Innovation Refunds at no upfront costs. Sometimes you need a second opinion. Good to go. Yeah, I think I'll get a second opinion. All these walls gotta go. I'd love a second opinion.
No.
I'm gonna get a second opinion. With Innovation Refunds, there's no upfront cost to find out, so why not check like I did for my small business? Take the first step to see if your small business qualifies for the ERC.
I will be a travel influencer.
Hey, I thought you were on vacation.
It's too expensive.
Use Priceline. They've got deals no one else has.
What about work?
I got you.
Looking great, you guys. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
There were these sex tapes of Hulk Hogan.
Dennis Rodman was the bad boy of basketball.
I couldn't have done this crime, but I'm doing life in prison.
Rich and Shameless, tonight at 10 on TNT.
Hi, William Devane here. If you're on Medicare and Medicaid or new to Medicare, you can call and check your zip code for a Medicare Advantage plan that may have extra benefits and may save you money. It's so easy. 1, call the number at the bottom of your screen. 2, they'll check for Medicare Advantage plans that may offer lower co-pays, transportation benefits, prescriptions, and dental coverage for fillings, extractions, even dentures. Plus, Part B premium reduction benefit that can add money back to your Social Security check every month. 3, you'll find out if you're eligible for certain plans that include an allowance for rent, groceries, and utility bills for qualifying individuals. Get what you deserve. Call now.
I just became eligible for Medicare, so I called to see if a plan that helps me pay for rent and groceries was available in my zip code.
Get what you deserve. Call now.
If you're on Medicare and Medicaid or new to Medicare, call to speak to a licensed insurance agent. Call 1-800-208-0009 now.
The Lead with Jake Tapper, CNN Today at 4.
Now to some of the other headlines we are watching this hour. U.S. Customs officials caught a whiff of something suspicious when 4 cheese wheels were brought into the country from Mexico. On closer inspection, they found 70 pounds of cocaine. Authorities say a 22-year-old American drove the cheese across the border into Presidio, Texas. That driver, now, of course, facing smuggling charges. A medical scare on live television, this involving ESPN soccer analyst Shaka Hislop. The former goalkeeper collapsed during a pregame segment on the field. Frightening. Before we show you what happened, we do need you to know he is now said to be okay. That's key. Take a look.
left behind. He's on the naughty step from PSG. He's not gone on the tour of Japan. What do you say? Shaq! Right, we need some help.
Well, it's so frightening, it makes you think of Damar Hamlin. Well, when this happened, the ESPN cut to commercial as medics treated him on the spot. Again, ESPN says Hillsip is now conscious and he's recovering. Thank goodness. The Prime Minister of Greece says his country is at war now with wildfires and that the climate crisis, in his words, is already here. These are flames on the island of Rhodes where thousands of tourists and residents have been evacuated, including tourists forced to haul their suitcases across beaches to escape by boat. Just yesterday, another wildfire broke out on the Greek island of Corfu. We are following all these stories, Boris.
And major developments out of Israel as well, and what could be a historic turning point for the country. Thousands of protesters are now demonstrating in the streets after hard-right lawmakers led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu passed the first part of the government's plan to weaken the power of the country's courts. Supporters claim the reforms are necessary to rebalance powers between the branches of government. Protesters fear the move could turn Israel into a dictatorship. CNN's Hadas Gold is live in Jerusalem for us. So Hadas, what is the situation now and what comes next?
Well, all day we had been out on the streets with the protesters, and then this vote did actually pass. But just in the last few minutes, we have actually heard from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who I should also note came to the Israeli parliament this morning straight from the hospital because he had been fitted with a pacemaker on an emergency basis just in the last 48 hours or so. But he finally addressed the country, and essentially what he said was that this bill that passed today was not destroying democracy. He said it is strengthening the democracy. It is carrying out the will, the democratic will of the voters, he said, because the voters were the ones that voted this government into power. And they do have a majority in the Israeli parliament, the majority needed to pass this bill. He had some criticism for the opposition, saying that during the freeze of legislation, when they were trying to negotiate, he claimed the opposition wouldn't hear any of their offers. He also had some strong words for the protesters that we've seen all day and over the past 6 months, really. He said that they were blocking access, blocking streets, blocking people going about their day-to-day lives. But for the protesters, they see this as really sort of a life and death situation for Israeli democracy, and that's why they're out on the streets. Now, something that Benjamin Netanyahu did say, he said that he is going to continue negotiations with the coalition on the other bills that are part of this overhaul package, because what was passed today is just one aspect. This bill today would take away the Supreme Court's ability to declare government actions unreasonable, stopping them in their tracks. There are already legal challenges to it, so it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be law right away. But Benjamin Netanyahu is saying that they're going to push ahead with the other bills in the pipeline on this, but they say they are going to be open to, once again, at least attempt negotiations with the other side. Boris.
Huge news out of Israel. Hadas Gold, thank you so much. Jim?
Yeah, folks didn't think it would happen, and here we are. Well, the site that was once known for 140-character limit is boiling the company down now to just one, X. Why Elon Musk says he is rebranding the Twitter bird. That's next.
Introducing the all-new 2024 Chevy Trax. Helps you stay connected, safe, and charged. The all-new Chevy Trax, starting at $21,495. The possibilities are endless.
Brenda used to worry about stained teeth. Now,
It's swishy time.
she uses TheraBreath whitening mouthwash to help remove and prevent stains.
It's non-burning and non-irritating, just like us.
Try TheraBreath mouthwash.
It's a better mouthwash.
Hi, it's Christina again. I'm here to tell you about an all-new special offer from my friends at Jacuzzi Bath Remodel that you don't want to miss. You already know, Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for more than 65 years. And now they're bringing you this special TV offer. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for 1 year. Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a design you'll love at a price you can afford. And best of all, they can install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess. Are you ready to see your new shower? Here it is.
It's fabulous. Taking a shower had gone from being a joy to being a burden. I was afraid I would fall. I called, and just one day, I had a shower I could feel safe in.
No matter your situation, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has a solution for you. From a safer, easy entry shower with features like grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home, to a stunning family bath, or how about a luxurious upgrade with a timeless design that will look great for years to come. Plus, they're built to last with a lifetime warranty from an iconic brand you know you can trust.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of. If you haven't already experienced what Jacuzzi Bath Remodel can do for you, your family, and your home, don't wait any longer. Now is the best time to call. It's never been easier. Take advantage of this special TV offer today.
Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-516-6230. That's 800-516-6230. Call now.
Okay, everyone, our mission is complete balanced nutrition. Together, we provide nutrients to support.
Good times made history.
Gotta celebrate.
See It Loud, the history of black television. New episodes Sundays at 9 on CNN.
I started experiencing ED. I knew I had to do something about it.
You go online, you answer the medical questions.
The medication.
Get started today with RexMD.com.
At Rulala, feel like $1,000,000 without paying the price. Seize the deals on top names before they're gone. Get in to never miss out. Shop Rulala.com today.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit LegacyBox.com.
I had a client once who was a respiratory care nurse during the COVID-19 pandemic. BetterHelp quite literally provided her what she needed at the most pivotal time in her life.
The Source with Caitlin Collins, tonight at 9.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Audiobook Network. Authors tell your story. Produce an audiobook with us.
Want to earn more profits and find a new audience for your published book? Produce an audiobook. We handle narration, production, and digital distribution.
800-753-8559. X really does mark one spot on the web. Elon Musk is replacing Twitter's famous Bluebird logo with just the letter X. Musk had already renamed Twitter's business as X Corp, and now X.com redirects over to Twitter.com. The company's chief executive, Linda Yaccarino, tweeted out this image of the new X logo projected over Twitter's San Francisco headquarters. She captioned it, "Lights, camera, X." Sarah Fisser joins me now. She's a CNN media analyst, also senior media reporter for Axios. Sarah, this follows a whole lot of turmoil at the company, attempts to rebrand, attempts to change the way it monitors discourse, disinformation, and so on. What is Musk's goal with this rebranding as we know it?
It's a great question. I think there are two goals. One, he's obsessed with X. It's something that he's loved for a long time. His other companies involve this letter. Think about SpaceX or his new AI startup called XAI. He's owned the domain X.com since 2017 when he bought it back from PayPal. So he has had a fascination with this brand for a long time. That's part of it. The second part of it, to Linda's tweet, speaks to what he wants to make this company be. He wants Twitter to be an everything app. And what
what that means, Jim, it's a lot of different functions within one mobile interface. That is very uncommon here in the US, in part because we have very strict payment regulations that make it hard to do micropayments like you can in other places around the world, like China, and in part because our technology industry is very old. And so a lot of these older tech companies created their own apps by themselves. If you think about PayPal or eBay or Meta, which was Facebook. And so there was no need to create one big app. That is his vision for Twitter. It has long been his vision for Twitter. And I think he thinks that if he can rebrand it X, it brings him one step closer to making that vision a reality.
You follow the media industry closely, and I know that it was beginning of last month, I believe, when Fidelity made an estimate. This is an estimate because it's a private company of Twitter's valuation now being around $15 billion. Of course, Musk paid $44 billion for it, and this estimate was made before the advent of Threads, a competing platform. How does the market view the current valuation, if not a dollar figure, the current state of the company?
It does not view it very well, Jim. You know, Fidelity is not the only one to have a lot of skepticism about Twitter's value. Elon Musk has said himself that advertising revenue has been cut in about half. Now, if you think about it, before he bought Twitter, advertising revenue was $4.5 billion. So if you think about it, we're now in around the $2-point-something billion range. And so $15 billion kind of makes sense if you bake in a lot of the uncertainty under Elon Musk, a lot of the product problems that have happened as he tries to implement changes quickly. The thing that we're all watching for is, what does he do from here? Where does he go? Clearly, the advertisers are not coming back. The subscription product is not really working. Do we think X is going to be the first major super app to succeed in the US when folks like Amazon and Uber and Snap have been trying it? I'm skeptical.
Well, we'll keep watching, and I know you will. Sarah Fisher, thanks so much. Boris.
See you in court. Texas Governor Greg Abbott responding to the Justice Department's demand to remove floating border barriers with a legal threat. Details straight ahead.
Age is just a number, and mine's unlisted.
Try Boost High Protein with 20 grams of protein for muscle health versus 16 grams in Ensure High Protein. Boost High Protein, now available in Cinnabon Bakery-inspired flavor. Learn more at boost.com/TV.
Why did we choose Safe Flight? For us, driving around is the only way we can get our baby to sleep. So when our windshield cracked, we can't drive this. We needed it fixed right. We went to safelight.com. There's no one else we'd trust. Their experts replaced our windshield and recalibrated our car's advanced safety system. They focus on our safety, so we can focus on this little guy.
Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. Purple Mattress's exclusive Gel Flex Grid draws away heat, relieves pressure, and instantly adapts. Sleep better. Live Purple. Visit purple.com or a mattress store near you.
Good checkup? No, great checkup. Nailed it again.
Keep up the good work. For great checkups, Crest has you covered because Crest Pro Health protects 100% of your mouth for 24 hours.
Look, Mom, no cavities.
Crest. I'm saving with Liberty Mutual, Mom. They customize your car insurance, so you only pay for what you need. You could save $700 just by switching.
Oh, let me put a reminder on my phone. On the top of the pile.
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty. He snores like an angry rhino.
I've never heard an angry rhino.
Baby, I hear one every night. Every night.
Okay, I'll work on that.
The Queen Sleep Number 360 C2 Smart Bed is now only $8.99, plus free home delivery when you add an adjustable base. Shop now only at Sleep Number.
Family life can get really messy, but Care.com can help. With lots of great housekeepers to put your place back together again when it's right for you. It costs less than you think. Get the housekeeping help you need. Care.com.
When did I call Leaf Filter? When I saw my gutters overflowing onto my porch.
Leaf Filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
It's the easiest call you can make.
Call 833-LEAF Filter today or visit leaffilter.com.
These bills are crazy.
She has no idea she's sitting on a gold mine. She doesn't know that if she owns a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, she can sell all or part of it to Coventry for cash, even a term policy. Even a term policy? Even a term!
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-461-8800 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
When migraine strikes, are the trade-offs of trading worth it? At Morgan Stanley, old school hard work beats bold new thinking. Peering to unlock new ideas, to create new legacies, to transform a company, industry, economy, generation. Because grit and vision working in lockstep puts you on path to your full potential. Old school grit, new world ideas. Morgan Stanley.
As part of your credit card's reward program, there's a 5% discount applied to your hotel room. $120 for the night, please.
Oh, 5% off as well as free Wi-Fi. Not bad. $95 for the night, please, sir. Wait, what?
If you use Trivago, Trivago will compare hotel prices from hundreds of websites worldwide, so you can often find a better deal for your hotel room. And also free Wi-Fi. Maybe you should try Trivago next time.
Hotel Trivago.
At PNC Bank, you can the people who live and work there because you call these communities home, and we do too. PNC Bank.
Hi.
Hello there.
Would you like some lemonade? $5, please.
Had enough inflation? Undo inflation with Dish. Get the same TV bill every month for 3 years.
Supply chain issues.
The 3-year TV price guarantee, only from Dish.
They are Trump's legal battles, but his Republican rivals are being forced to pick a side. Less than 1 month out from the first Republican debate, and these candidates are struggling to find a balance between taking on the former president and losing his legion of followers.
Time's up, and Texas is lawyering up. Governor Greg Abbott is refusing to remove water barriers in the Rio Grande, despite the Justice Department threatening legal action if he does not. Also, Mexican complaining. We will have the latest from the border. And forget trying to just look younger. A new study is revealing how to live longer. And we're talking 24 extra years. We are following these developing stories and many more. I'll be listening to that one. All coming in right here to CNN News Central.
We're starting to get a clearer picture of just how crowded the first Republican primary debate will be next month. 7 candidates and counting have met the polling requirements to take the stage, but that's just half the equation. Candidates must also meet fundraising requirements. Whatever the measure, Donald Trump is the clear front runner. But what's unclear is if he'll even attend that first debate. And another X factor, whether Trump will soon be facing his 3rd indictment, potentially his 2nd from the special counsel. CNN's Jessica Dean is here. So Jessica, give us the lay of the land on what this debate it might look like.
Well, Boris, so many of these candidates, pretty much everybody but the former president, is looking ahead to this debate and hoping this is going to be their big breakout moment. Because let's take a look at this polling, and it's going to explain why very quickly. If you take a look at polling from Fox News from yesterday, this is in key battleground states, key early states, Iowa, South Carolina. And when you look at that, in Iowa, Trump is at 46%. DeSantis is in second at 16%. He's the next closest. And you just see how wide that gap is. And in South Carolina, it's a similar story. It's Trump at 48%, Nikki Haley at 14%, DeSantis at 13%, Tim Scott at 10%. He is just running so far ahead of all of these other candidates right now that all of them are trying to find some traction. And of course, when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis got into this race, there was hope among a lot of Republicans that he could be the most viable alternative to the former president. But we have seen him not be able to really catch fire in these polls, that he is definitely the second place, coming in second place in Iowa, let's say. In South Carolina, not so much according to that poll, but he hasn't been able to really convert him getting into the race into really big numbers, big polling. And so what we're hearing now from his campaign, they are doing a bit of a reset. We know they had a donor event over the weekend out west. They talked to their donors, they talked to their supporters. They admitted that they are going to be making some changes both in how they're spending their money, how they're allocating their money, what the messaging might be. They want to lean in now to this insurgent idea that he's the insurgent candidate. They want to be more aggressive. And to that end, we're going to be seeing more of Governor DeSantis in Iowa. Thus far, we have seen him there. I've been there with him, covered him there several times. But this has been kind of coming in for a day or two, dipping out. We had heard from even people, Iowa Republicans in the Des Moines Register, that they want to see him there a lot. You know, that's what they expect in these early states, and this retail politicking. And so we're going to see him start a bus tour on Thursday. He's pledged to go to all 99 counties, the full Grassley, as it were. And so we're going to expect to see a lot more of him there. And that's obviously one particular candidate's strategy going into this debate. You're going to see if any of these other candidates can do something to kind of position themselves to be in a good place when they go into that, when they get on that debate stage. And then to your point, what started all of this, the big X factor, will former President Trump even be there?
Yeah, the big question, right?
Yeah.
You noted South Carolina, Nikki Haley in second place there. She was a former governor in South Carolina. But with the exception of that state, broadly, you can say Ron DeSantis is in second place nationally across the board in the Republican primary race. But other candidates are now catching up to him, and there are concerns about his fundraising.
Right. And there's concerns about can carry on, because he had big numbers, posted big numbers when he announced. You remember that was back in May. And now the idea is, can you keep that up? Are donors going to continue to support him in the way that they have? Are they able to reach these smaller dollar donors? That's really the bread and butter in political fundraising. You've got to be able to go back to those small dollar donors because you can continue to go back to them for another $15, another $30, instead of these big donors that, you know, really kind of tap out and you can't go back to them again. So again, that was what they were talking about this weekend. It is, you know, they're going to have to find a strategy to really catch fire with voters. And then once you do that, as we know, the money tends to follow. And in this case, he had the money on the front end. It's can you continue to get that money to get you where you want to go?
Yeah, I'm also curious to see if perhaps he continues lagging in the polling, if he starts going after Trump over legal matters. We'll have to wait.
That's the big question. So far, we haven't seen him do it really from the stump. So that's what I'm watching this week when I'm back in Iowa.
Jessica Dean, appreciate the reporting. Jim?